Okay. Yeah. What's today? April 25th already. Holy cow. April's almost gone. All right. Oh, there's the chime for 4:30. Right on dot. Right on the dot.
Somehow I'm hearing the music.
Oh, it could be maybe you have your phone up again?
No?
No? Oh, interesting. Maybe you're getting it somehow.
Oh, I'm hearing it through. I do have, in a different window, I have your live stream up.
Oh, so you're going to hear my voice echoed as well.
Yeah.
All right, I'm joined by Doug, also a Thinker888 here on the stream today. And we're working through finding a method of how to draw the head from any angle. And I want to develop this method that takes advantage of iteration and speed. Speed not only in learning, but speed, but in doing as well. There's a tendency for myself when, and it was all kind of came about from. Good morning, Thinker. Good morning, Doug. It came about from this drawing here, where I'm trying to take an image, this image here, and figure out a different lighting scenario for it. And as I was working on this, I realized I do not know the head, the structure of the head, well enough to be able to light it from any angle. Honestly, I don't know the structure of the head well enough to be able to turn it and still keep the same look of this person. For example, if I wanted to uh, maybe make the turn of the head a little bit less three-quarter, so maybe the center line was here, right, and turn the head to the right just a little bit. I would need to learn or know how the structure of this head is built in 3D space in order to do that accurately, or with some kind of accuracy. Then after that, if I'm able to turn the head at any angle, then I could light it from any angle because I'll know the form so well. I would know how the light would pass over the forehead. Would it make a shadow into the eye socket? How would it pass over the cheek? These kind of things. So we are going to focus on the structure of the head. And what's important there is I'm saying head and not portrait. The what was difficult for me to kind of understand yesterday was the difference, and the way I was thinking of things was in this kind of portrait idea. Now, portrait is, the name of a person. So, Chris, Josh, Doug, I'm doing their portrait. It's going to look like them. It's going to have a lot of details that needs a ton of accuracy to look like them. The difference between a portrait and a head is generalized. A head is an idea of the structure, and the features can be fit on it in any way, and it can be kind of molded in any way. And the most important thing within this method that I want to put in place, that we're working on today or starting today, is focusing on learning exactly what I need. My tendency for myself, and maybe for you, is when I see an error in my skill level, when I'm trying to do something that I want to do, and I realize I'm unable to do that, my skill level is not as good, I usually go back to the beginning. I go back to the start. And I went all the way back to, drawing 101. And it's on a spectrum. So we have drawing 101 right here, and then when we have all of these other aspects of it. So just getting the idea of how to use your implements, and then maybe perspective is here, and then maybe value and lighting is here, and then beginning to understand the form and simple shapes is here. That'd be like boxes, and then loomis head, Asaro head. We add in all of these extra pieces of complexity with each jump. I'm up here trying to learn the form of the head, and I'm like, you know what? I need to start over. I start back here. And that is going to take a lot of time. So I have, and that's kind of a sense of perfectionism. I don't know this point, so everything must be bad, so I'm going to start over. So we need to get out, I need to get out of that perfectionist tendencies and focus on exactly what I need. And so we have to define that too. So I want to learn the structure of the head so that I can draw it from imagination and I can light it from any angle. I can be able to turn the form how I want. Now, the other important part about this is making sure that this aligns with something you want to do. You know, don't get caught into building skill area, the building skill phase, and then forget about the reason of why you're building this skill. And so I need to constantly remind myself, because this is going to take some time, that this is why I'm doing it. So I'm going to build into this method a constant review, bringing myself back to this exact painting and seeing if I can do it. So this is going to be the tester, like you go through some classes and then you go to, what you want to do, and you see, oh, can I actually do that now? Do I have a better understanding? And you know what? I don't need to be perfect on this painting either. I could get through some of what we're going to be doing today. And I'm saying, when I say, the skill thing, it could be a week before I come back to this, Hopefully it's only a few days, but we'll see. So the purpose of it is just a deep understanding. Able to turn the head in any direction, and able to light that head and render it as the light flows over the complex forms. Because when you start with, well, I'll get into the simple shapes right now, but let's get into kind of the progression of that. So in order to know the structure of any volume, you need to know how it moves through space. And that's basically the definition of perspective. Now, when we normally think of perspective, we think of horizon line, vanishing point, railroad tracks, right? And how the railroad tracks go off into space and each of the beams get so close that you don't see them anymore. That's what we usually think about perspective. But perspective affects everything that you can see on the planet. Everything everywhere. And the most simplest form of perspective is a box. So if we have this head here, we could put it in this box. Let me turn to orange so that this reddish orange so you can see what I'm drawing. I didn't do this drawing. I actually got this off the internet. I thought it was actually a good illustration of putting the head in a box and matching it up with the perspective of the box. Now, I did go through the Draw a Box course, not the entirety of the course. It's a bit arduous. I think it kind of eats itself in some way. What do I mean by that? You get into the point you do draw a box just to draw a box, not to actually do something, You learn a lot, but at some point it's kind of okay, I'm done with this, I'm beyond it. But learning that perspective of just a box, I think, is really important, to kind of jump into perspective. It was really helped for me to understand what perspective is. So we could represent this head as a box. As you can see, we got brow line, we got nose line, chin line here. The angle of it goes from the brow to around the top of the ear. So that's your major perspective line. But the one thing to understand is it won't fit perfectly with any reference that you have, any real person. So I could tell that this was kind of a person drew a box, or maybe they started the loomis head. I can see the circle of the side of the head there, or the oval of the side of the head there, and they fit the features on it as a person. This is someone that knows, you know, the structure of a head well enough to be able to draw this out of their imagination. And if you try and take a box or the loomis head and you fit it perfectly, like trying to match it with a portrait, like if I opened up this image of Rachel Bradley, and I tried this yesterday. Let's do Shift B so that I can get straight lines. So we can divide the box right here at the point of the temple. So let's say it goes down this way. Oh, I need to go into this layer. Say the front plane of the box is here, a little bit wider. And then the first major perspective angle above the ear to there, and then this is like the temple point, like the right on the brow ridge, and then from far right brow ridge to the other side, then we have this major angle. We could repeat that angle somewhat at the top, at the chin, at the nose, and then begin kind of connecting the box off in space. And quickly, I mean, this is even worse than I did yesterday. You get this kind of weird shape. It's not really a box. That angle is really bad. But and I did this several times, I was trying to match a box to her head exactly, when in actuality, the best thing to do here would be to use the box as kind of an understanding, a generalized understanding of the form. So I'm not even going to draw a box that is made up of all straight lines. It's a rough. And I'm using this form, this simplified form, to understand, okay, her head is pointing down. This is the major corner. And then this flows back this way. And then if we did that somewhat with the chin, it would be here. Maybe the nose is there. Top of the head will angle up in a different way. Front plane, side plane. But even that is, I mean, you see we have this, we don't have like a 90-degree angle here that's like a strange angle, but it's actually the angle of her head, you know, going from those points. And we'll look at that further with the loomis head, because that's kind of like the next progression. But that's the most kind of simple form as perspective. The next is a loomis head, which is not a perfect representation of the head. And let me go back to these examples here. This kind of would give you, and I collected these examples. This is actually from Skills Up, a website. And I saw these on Pinterest and I was like, oh, this is actually a really good example of what I want to do. Except it misses a starting point. The starting point would be the loomis head, and we'll get into the loomis head again, but this is kind of like the second point. This is a simple Asaro head, and then it builds up to more complexity. And this person is using the Riley method, where they use rhythms on the form, and then they build up more complexity, and then finally more complexity on top of that. So the important thing is the beginning, the start, this kind of structural idea, getting that understanding of the structure. Hey, good morning, Nalavan. Welcome to the stream. And that's what we're going to kind of focus on today. That's exactly what we're going to focus on today. But let's look at what the loomis head is. There's a lot of YouTube videos. Actually, Stan Prokopinko, Proko.com has several videos on drawing the loomis head. And it's an average of an head. It is not a perfect representation. So I'm going to do it here. And I'm going to go, and this is part of my practice. I haven't done a loomis head in a while, so bear with me. So it starts with a sphere or a circle. Okay? That was actually a pretty good circle. I'm happy with that one. And then we want a oval on the side of it. Basically, imagine a sphere with a bit of the side cut off, okay? And we're thinking about this as the front plane of the head and the side plane of the head. So this is how the loomis head starts. And then, if let's say we're looking at a reference, we would judge, this angle here from the reference, which would be usually, that brow point, and then the connection of the brow line here. That will give us the angle, are they looking up and down? Then we divide this oval in half to get that point. This will help us with the jaw line. Now this is, the actual loomis kind of method. And then right at the bottom of this oval, that's going to be where our nose is. So right about right there. And then we double that size, which is probably right about there, to get the chin. And then on the outside here, we drop down a line all the way to the chin. And those lines are a little bit too rough. Let me see if I can get them closer together. So there's our chin. And then, or the beginning of the chin. And then the entirety of the chin goes back this way. Flows up to the center point. And then we can drop down this division between the front plane of the head and the side plane. I actually like to put a little bit of S-curve to this when I do it. Kind of like that. And then at any point in time, we could do a center line within it. And that's the basic loomis head. Now, all by itself, it could be, not very helpful. The reason why is because it's, a generalization of a head, and we want to connect it with, the references that we're looking at. So if I go to this outrage image, I would want to do a loomis head or a loomis version of this head in the exact same angles. And that's what we're going to start with on this method. So here's what I'm planning. And I will close my examples over here. And this is what we were working on yesterday. This is images of Rachel Bradley. I downloaded this, and I actually have a bunch of other images. If you can see on my layers panel on the left-hand side here, I have 50 different heads lined up. All kinds of them. And what we're going to do is we're going to do 100, and I'm not going to do all of them on the stream, by the way. We're going to do 100 loomis heads that match each and every one of these images as close as we can. This is similar to the Ahmed Adori 100 Heads Challenge, but it's a bit more focused. In that I'm focused on learning the structure of the head, not like the visual learning like I was doing yesterday. I was just kind of looking at what I was seeing there and trying to copy what I was seeing there. And I'm going to try and do it quickly. Each and every one. I'm going to make some mistakes, a lot of mistakes, and every single iteration I'm going to learn from those mistakes.
Yay for the mistakes.
Yes. Definitely. And then after I do the loomis heads for all of these, we're going to go back through them and we're going to do a simple Asaro head. Let me show you what the Asaro head looks like. I got some links here. So I want to kind of bring this up. So this is actually the purchase page. So this is a simple Asaro head. It's actually, they call it the memorized copy. It's simplified so you can memorize it. You know, this just simple planes of the head. You can see it's a bit more, well, it's a lot more complex than the loomis head. And the reason why this is next is because it's the next level of complexity. So we're starting, and I could have done 100 boxes in the shape of the head. That would have been the first thing. Like if you don't know perspective at all, that could be the best start for you, right? And then move on to the loomis head and then to this simple Asaro head. This is the full Asaro head. We're going to pass this one up. We're not going to do the full Asaro head. It has a simplistic side to it and a complex side to it, but it's a bit too complex. At this point, I think we can go from the simple head to the actual portrait and be able to adjust, you know, from there. There's also, I really love ArtStation for the community and a lot of things that they put together there. For example, this is a really great tool. It's by, let me see, William Nguyen. And it's basically a 3D model that you can play around with. Let me see, I could play it here. I could stop it. And then I could move this light around. I could move the head around to any angle. And it's not it's closer to the simple Asaro head, honestly, although I could zoom in on here, although you get a lot of like weirdness with the focal length, so it kind of gets distorted the closer you get. But you can use this to help to understand the structure of the head really easily. So it's a 3D model right in your browser.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I love that one. I'm going to put all these links in the description after the live stream. The other thing I like is I actually downloaded this one and I brought it into Blender. And this is the actual Asaro head. And I was manipulating it in Blender, lighting it different in Blender. One day I will show you how to do that, but I was still kind of learning myself. So a lot of really cool tools out there to help you learn the structure of the head. But if you don't have those tools, even if you're not in digital, you can still do this practice that we're going to be developing here. And this isn't perfected, guys. I mean, I think this is going to work well for me. You know, 100 boxes, if you don't know anything about perspective, that would be number one. 100 boxes in perspective. Look at drawbox.com. And then number two would be 100 loomis. Number three, 100 simple Asaro. And then number four would be portrait, 100 of them, structurally. And the cool thing about this is because I'm in digital, and this is what I really want to do, is if I do a loomis head here, I'm going to come back with a simple Asaro head over it, and then a portrait over it, if that makes sense. So I'm building up complexity within those, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. What do you think about that, Doug? Is this like...
No, that sounds like a good plan to me.
Good. Yeah, because I really, really enjoy your input and Josh's input yesterday from, like, hey, you're way off the mark, dude. You're not doing what you really want to do. So let's get going. All right, I'm trying to do a loomis head quickly of Rachel Bradley and her angle there. So the first thing that I want to do is the circle and then kind of guess where this oval's going to go. I'm going to say right there. And, oh, by the way, one thing that we're not going to do is fix as we go. We're going to learn and move on to the next one. So I'm seeing the angle of, you know, this angle here. Maybe I could switch to orange. I'm thinking about that angle there next. And then the angle of the brow line. And you can see how rough this is right away. So her head is definitely pointing down. We got that in. I remember Andrew Loomis he would actually drop the center line down. And for that, I look at, you know, in between the eyebrows and where the chin is, kind of that line. You know, am I getting that connected well? Really thin outside line here. Oh, one thing I forgot was the nose. So the nose line is right there, but weird angle for my arm. Right, this front plane needs to follow the angle of the brow as well. So the nose would be right there. Now, because she's looking down, I would expect that the next width would be somewhat smaller. That's how perspective works. So instead of repeating this width down here, well, that looks almost exactly the same. No, it is a little bit shorter. So the top width would probably hit there. So I want to make it a little bit shorter because she's looking down, you know, perspective on that. Chin angle. Back of the chin. And then this actually is my favorite line here. And I like the curve in it. I like kind of curving it up and out. Okay, messy. Number one.
I'm proud of you for not measuring.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. It's messy, and what else is off on this? Let me see. What doesn't represent well, like the generalization? I think the front plane is too large. Yeah. Oh, let me get the neck in there. Not going to worry about the features at all on this. Another thing I want to do is get that, you know, the cylinder of the neck in some way. Okay. All right, go on to the next one. This is another Rachel Bradley. Different angle. And I need to have the correct layer selected. Okay. Let's get a little bit less messy with this. And I'm going to make the circle of the head a bit larger. And you know, the interesting thing about this is before I do the line at the side of the head, I'm guessing the angle of the tilt with the oval. Okay, that's less messy, definitely. And I'm gonna guess oh, by the way, with this, you divide the oval in half, basically, with the angle that you think is happening. So really, you think about the center of this oval, and then you know, if they're looking up, it would go this way. If they're looking extreme down, it would go this way. That's what we're kind of doing there. And then the angle of the brow. And then let's drop the center line next. I usually go way beyond where I'm supposed to go. And this goes out, and then remember the front angle. That's where our nose is. She's looking down again, so it's not going to be a repeat of the top width. So we're going to make it shorter, maybe even shorter. I mean, that's a lot shorter, I can tell. Okay, outside. Whoa. Sorry, is that really loud? It could be super loud on the stream. But it's important for me.
Not too bad.
Okay. Like, I need to stand up from my back. You know what's interesting, Doug, is, why I'm doing this. That's another thing I'm trying to train here, is to be able to talk about something else and even get frustrated while I'm actually working. Because yesterday I kind of broke down on that. So training several different things today. But it's interesting when I do certain things on this stream, and I'm looking at the stream analytics right now. And it's just you and me, man. Just you and me. And I'm kind of, completely okay with that. Yeah, I am okay with that.
So do you want me to ask you frustrating questions?
No, actually, I'm sorry. I was kind of like off on that. But when you do things like this, where I feel this is necessary for learning, this repetition kind of thing. Oh, I can't even see the other side of the neck there. Oh, here we go. I think the neck ends there. That's where it is under the chin. No, I feel like when I do the hard work on the stream, the repetitive day-to-day kind of stuff, that's when no one shows up. And it's really interesting how that kind of works out.
Oh, yeah.
People don't want to see that. I think people want the beer commercial, right? Where it's 60 seconds and you quickly get from not knowing to achieving. But that's kind of my job. There's a connection that's difficult here, especially with artists. So here's success, and this could be 10 years from point to point, okay? And here's effort. Like, this is a line of effort, right? And my job is to try and help connect these 2 points so that a person, when they're here and they move forward just a tiny bit, they see that this little bit of effort connects with success. If I keep doing that, it will get there. That's what I keep trying to do. But I'm making a lot of mistakes on these streams and trying to teach.
Repetition is the mother of skill.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Feedback. What's the other saying is, knowledge is worthless. It's not powerful. Applied knowledge is powerful. So repetition is the mother of skill, yes, but the most important thing here is to apply it in some way to, actually, apply is not the right word, but more about getting feedback from it. So I could do reps all day long, but if I'm not looking at what I'm doing and getting some kind of feedback, it's not going to help me. So here, let's get some feedback on this. Number one, I think this angle is wrong. I don't know why that's wrong, but it looks wrong.
It seems to me it needs to be parallel more closely the center line that you drop down.
Yeah. So this kind of, one of the perspective things that you do, and I'm not going to fix that. We're going to leave it there. So I'm going to say ellipse, vert. Wrong. Ellipses are always hard for me. The whole thing where you're drawing a tire on the side of the car and how that moves through space. And the difference between like how ellipses don't match a square perfectly or the side of a plane that's in perspective. and understanding the difference between the two. It's really, really interesting. It's something I need to look at again.
I agree. I have a problem with that as well.
And it's so difficult. What's his name? Marshall Vandruff has a perspective course that is just fantastic. It's like $12. And, he made it back in the 70s, so he's this young guy. But he's able to describe these complex things really well. I think because he did that class for 15, 20 years probably before they recorded it. Okay, back again to repetition, mother of success. So the vertical on the ellipse is wrong. I got cleaner from last time. So we're going to try and keep it as clean as possible. What was the problem with the last one? Front plane too large. Oh, okay. So the width of the front plane was too large. I'm going to do this real quick just to kind of like test. So the end of the front plane of the head is an arbitrary point. You could say, I've seen people say that, right where the eyebrow turns, that little point, that's the end of the front plane of the head. I've seen other people say that it's right at the end of the eyebrow, but, she's kind of plucking our eyebrows, I believe, or are making them look beautiful in some way. But I kind of go for in between those two. So that's the end of the front plane.
That's similar to the Asaro head, right?
Yeah, it's Asaro, loomis. This is a generalization, right? And then the side of the head is like that. So I've divided mine kind of directly in half. So front plane too wide. So Nalavan says, is this a loomis method or a combo between loomis and Asaro? So what I'm drawing right now is just loomis. We'll do a combo of both of them within the later stages of this. Yeah, and hey, Nalavan, let me know at any point in time if you don't understand what I'm talking about. Help me teach better. I want you to understand. Because if I can't teach it well, I don't understand it well. Okay. The two things I need to work on next, the vertical, the ellipse needs to be better, and the front plane, I need to think about that a little bit more. Completely different head. Going with a male head now. All right, let's do this. When I got this picture, there was this weird kind of white thing right there. I was like, what the heck is that? Can't see it now. Okay. Now, I would say the male head, Control Z, would be a lot easier to draw because there's a tendency for the male head to be very angular, and it's easier for us to kind of see those angles. I'm going to say that the oval will divide the entire circle in half. So I'm going to try and get that close. Oh, geez, no. Wow, this is not easy. Oh, geez. One of the things in the drawbox.com course, which I really like, is they have you draw a ton of lines and ovals. I mean, honestly, you watch Stan Prokopinko do ovals and circles, and you're like, wow, that looks so effortless. It's one of those simple skills that are overlooked, right? So here's the center of that ellipse. Let's do the vertical line first. I'm going to guess on this that it's here. And then this person is looking up at this angle. And the brow line is not much different of an angle, but it does have a bit of a curve to it. It will always kind of curve. Yes, I know my circle's kind of bad up there. Center line between the two brow lines. It's further to the right. See, I would not divide it in half. Perspective, right? So I'm going to divide it over here. Okay, there's the front.
This is really like more of a gesture drawing, but more complex with the exercises you're going through right now.
Yeah, and that's what Josh and I were talking about. I was like, he had mentioned gesture, and I was like, oh, but that's not going to be doing anything. He's like, yeah, but you want to learn to draw faster, right? I mean, I want to learn to draw and paint faster. Honestly, because I don't have a lot of time in the day, like most of us. And so I want to get to what I want to get to a lot faster. And we got to, like you said at the beginning, we got to train speed. Oh, it wasn't at the beginning of the stream. We were talking before the stream. To train speed, you have to train speed, like exactly, like draw faster. Get outside of that comfort zone a bit. But then see what you've gotten wrong and try and improve on the next one. Wow, this one is... I can't even see how, wow, there's so many terrible things about this one. Okay, it's messy again.
Yay, mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. Did I get the center, or at least the division, correct in some way? Yeah, that's not too bad. I would say that that's good. I'm going to say width's good. What angle would... This angle is way off that I put down. Let's say front angle off. Oh, the neck. Question mark. Have no idea on that. Yeah, it's kind of like the entire angle of the head is off. Like that vertical angle is off. It should be a little bit more kind of like that, I think, the whole thing. Okay. Entire angle is off. Okay. Awesome. Lots of mistakes. Lots to work on. Let's go to the next one. Oh, wow. This is like side of the head. Okay, let's put our circle in. Oh, nice. Okay, I did that one well. I'm happy with that circle. Okay, so looking at that division, this is like the whole thing is just the side of the head, but it's up. It's up further. Oh, it sounds like Josh came in.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, good morning, Josh.
Sorry, a little late today. Had to drop off my recycling before I dropped off my littlest one in a sitter. So I am on my way to the studio.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, you're not late. There's no lateness here. Okay, I've been doing like 5,000 circles before I actually draw this thing. Okay, let's just go for it. Go for it. I think that might be pretty good. What I was kind of going for there is like the oval is squished, vertically rather than horizontally, but not a tremendous amount. So I'm putting into practice, Josh, what we were talking about yesterday.
Ah, awesome.
Yeah. All right, here is... Actually, if you don't mind, if you have some time, watch the beginning of this stream today or tomorrow or whenever, and let me know if you think what I've outlined is good. Doug thinks it's pretty good. I don't know if he's just being nice to me, though, but Doug's never nice to me, so...
Well, neither am I.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. You guys make it better.
I root for the mistakes.
Yes.
Same. I think I think my favorite explanation of developing style through mistakes is probably from oh god, now I'm blanking on his name. New Masters Academy.
Oh, Steve Houston.
Yes, Steve Houston. Um, I mean, if you can get past the fact that he always looks very intoxicated, on, he has some wonderful wisdom, um,
He
and he
does.
draws incredibly fast, like incredibly fast, mind-bogglingly fast, and paints the same way. Um, but you know, any any sort of style is a mistake that you repeat intentionally once you realize it's a mistake that you like. Like, yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, that's a really cool. I love that. Any style is a mistake that you repeat that you like. You've
Yeah.
identified that you like it. Okay, here's where
Well,
the
if you watch him draw or paint, he has developed his own unique shorthand to do it quickly and effectively. Um, it's really inspiring, honestly, because you watch him do like his for a profile head similar to what you're doing right now. He just draws out that sail shape really quickly, and then he turns it into a beautiful head drawing in like 10 seconds.
Oh yeah. No,
Mildly
I've got his
infuriating.
book. Okay, so this one is interesting because oops. Especially down here at the chin area. We're looking up under the chin, and I feel like that's where Asaro kind of. Maybe I need to. Actually, no. I don't know how Asaro does under the chin. Or I'm sorry, Asaro. I keep saying Asaro. A loomis head does, like, kind of under the chin shape. So I'd have to look up that later. And that's something I need to understand because we are going to be looking at heads that are looking up, and all you see is underneath the chin. So I kind of did this kind of oval underneath. Like I'm following the shape of the chin as it does this thing, right? Because you see a little bit of under the. Actually, you probably wouldn't see that much because a lot of this is just muscle. Probably be something like that, maybe. I'm not sure. But anyway, let's look at this one. It's clean. I like that. And yeah, I think cleanliness is important here. Um, so I can understand things a little bit better. I've got I think a pretty good division between the head itself. So width is good. Front plane. Oh, I forgot the whole front plane thing. Yeah, I'm trying to pay attention to drawing while listening to wisdom from everyone else. So it's good. That's good. Okay. Actually, I'm pretty happy with this one. Do you see any errors, Doug? Or Josh?
The neck cylinder is going in the wrong direction, but other than that, it looks like a very
No.
solid head
Like,
construction.
I like it.
Neck direction. Just put little X's. So you're thinking the neck direction should be down this way or more straight up and down?
It looks like it goes sort of southwest to northeast.
Yeah. So a little bit more of that angle. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, pretty good on
Now,
that one.
this is an observation that I'm making while driving and glancing at my phone as it's clipped to my vent. So take anything I say with a grain of salt.
Okay, well,
So if we hear some crunching, we'll know what it is.
That is correct.
Be careful, dude. Okay, I'm gonna stop asking you to look at the screen. Okay, on to the next one. This is straight on, facing down. Oh my god, Josh, look at this. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Don't look at this. I want you to be safe. I actually cleaned that up. I shouldn't have. Okay. All right. So, wow, this one's going to be fun. This is difficult for me because these ovals on the side are really thin now. Oof. Probably thinner than that, I think. Wow, I feel like this is going to be really bad, but let's see. And we got 2 on either side. The angle that I see from the top of the ear to the brow line is like this. Let's repeat that on this side. Honestly, I think, there should be a bit more perspective here, like this is actually chopped off back there, but we'll look at that. And then the brow line is kind of straight across, but has an arch to it, arch down. Could be much more of an arch, definitely. Oh my goodness. And then let's draw a center line first. Now the next is the nose, which brow. I'm going to put the nose line like right on the circle. And then the chin a lot closer. Yeah, this is way off. I'm going to go with it. Yay, mistakes. Terrible, awful mistakes.
Challenges.
Yeah. Let's work on the chin from here. Oh man.
So something I find interesting about the mistakes here, though, is like what are the stakes for your mistakes? There are no there are no dire consequences. So make as many of them as you can. Now, if you were a surgeon,
right,
it would be a different story.
It'd be a different live stream. Oh, I don't think they would allow that. Okay.
They might for educational purposes.
Really bad. This one's really bad. Sad face. Yeah, this is so wrong. There's so much wrongness to it. Just the overall size is wrong. Ugh. Yeah, I'm gonna say redo on this one next time we come back. Okay, so straight on heads facing down are my kryptonite right now. I like this one. This was from a Casual Pose ArtStation download, and at this one the guy's like he's like shadow boxing with you. I think there's some distortion in the head also from the camera. Maybe a bit too much of a wide angle lens on that. Okay, got the circle in. Now the oval is on the left at a tilted to the left angle. And it's thin, 90% front of head. So right there, let's get a center of that. Let's do the vertical line first, and then, okay, that angle is like this. This is tough because I can't tell if the angle of the forehead is, actually, here's the other thing, is like this side of the Loomis head should be chopped off right here as well. I can't tell if this angle is like an upward arc or a downward arc. Well, no, I should be able to tell that because look, it's facing down. It's going to be a downward arc. Okay. Yeah, much better. Now center line. Almost in the center, but not quite. A little bit over to the left. And then the nose comes in. Right about there. Almost straight on here, so I'm going to double that distance. This person's actual head, I would say the chin goes a lot further down. But we're doing loomis method, so. Just that generalization, the structure of the head, that's what we're trying to do. The chin, look at that angle in the chin. Let's make that wider.
Just a general question. Doesn't Loomis start his center line first and bring it all the way around the ball and then just drop it straight down when it gets to the brow line?
Oh, I see what you mean, like doing this. I think you're right. And I think even Loomis does this kind of thing, where he's doing the ellipse over the entire sphere. Maybe not the entirety of it, but some of that at the top. Yeah, let's start doing that. I like that because you're getting an idea of the curvature of the top of the head. It's not a flat thing. And then as soon as it hits the brow, straight down the plane of the front of the head, yeah. I think, you know, part of what we're talking about when we're talking about speed is, you know, what is fast, right? I think there's a definition there that, you know, that needs to be come up with, like someone needs to come up with on their own. I'm looking at this neck as well, and he's facing forward, so I believe the whole of the neck at the bottom would be a wider ellipse. And closer up. Okay, I feel like I'm somewhat happy with this one. I'll get back to that whole speed discussion in a moment. That's a tendency that I have, is to go from one thing to the next. It's a problem. Okay, I'm gonna say this one's a bit messy, which is not a huge deal, honestly, but I like to put it in there. Oval. I'm gonna say not tall enough. Yeah, I feel like this whole area should be a lot taller for some reason. Like there's, maybe because I'm looking at this head, it's, you know, the oval should be like up here, and I feel like the side of the head goes way down. It's interesting how, like, you can get an idea of, you know, what's going on here, but at the same time it's not going to match. You start seeing these like differences where the Loomis head is not going to match with this head, but it can give you an idea of the direction, the form, and that's what we are going for. So I'm actually going to erase what I just did there. Of course it's not tall enough, because we're not making a portrait of this individual. We're trying to get an idea of, you know, the form of that head. Other than that, I don't think this one is that bad. I can't see any specific errors. Maybe the front plane too wide. Do you see any errors with that one, Doug?
Looks like the neck is just a little bit too long because his shoulder comes up around the line of the nose, so you're not even seeing anything on the left-hand side of the neck.
It's almost like it should be. Okay, so neck too long. All right, perfect. All right, that was 6. Let's get on to 7. Oh, it's... Oh, I threw this one in there. I remember now. My challenge. I took the same image and I rotated it upside down. Could happen, you know, never know. You know, maybe in the future I want to draw Spider-Man hanging from someplace. Now I need to do the Loomis head upside down. But it's the same photo, so I can think about, you know, what problems I had before. And actually this could be better in some ways because you're getting away from the image itself. You're turning it upside down, kind of abstracting it. Okay, the center of the oval is here. And there's a very slight angle up. Let's do a 90 here. And then the brow line. I totally want to drop the chin down this way. That's what I'm seeing. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, this is like really backwards. Okay, so the width, we see more of, oh, I forgot, I need to chop off this edge of the head. So is this something that you think you would do, Doug, to kind of get an understanding of?
Yeah, whenever I do a head, I'm always using the Loomis construction lines.
Oh, nice, nice. Let's do that there, and then. Now, whenever I do a contour on a sphere, I always want to hit and then kind of continue on like a little bit of the back of the sphere. It always gives me a better understanding of exactly how that top of the oval is supposed to run. I think that's really helpful. Okay, so this line here, nose there. We're going to drop the chin way down, or in this case, way up. You know, a much larger distance between, you know, than the top one. Getting a little bit closer to that head, the specifics of this person's head. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Am I forgetting something? No. All this side here. Okay. Oh, the neck. Yeah, I think I'm gonna, like you said before, like, you wouldn't see much of the neck. It would be this kind of end of the oval right there on this side, and the head, the chin, kind of hides the rest of the neck. Now, if we made this look a bit closer to the person, I think the cranium, like the circle, would come a lot further up. Yeah, that one's even better. Clean. I'm gonna say good proportions on this one. I don't see any wrong angles. Do you see any incorrect angles or anything?
No, it's interesting. doing it upside down. I think you're more focused on the shapes and the contours than when you're familiar with the setup.
Yeah, it kind of got me out of that comfort zone and really, it's challenging, but at the same time, it pulls you away from um, your symbolic idea of a head, right? Because there's a difference between a symbol and actually kind of what you're seeing, although we are making a symbol of the head. It's interesting how to explain that. Helps you rethink everything.
Drawing what you see rather than what you know.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. All right, another Rachel Bradley. This might be the last one for the day. Well, last one for the stream. What I'm planning on doing is continuing this on and going through them myself. I don't think it's necessary to see every permutation of this on the stream. Wow. So 90, like I would say 70 to 80% of the head is all the side of the head on this one. Let's get the center of this oval, the downward angle. Actually, I did it a little bit different this time. And then this should curve up slightly. You can tell I'm a traditional artist because one thing I never do is rotate to help me like figure out the placement of things. And this, I'm going to say that that's already bad. The line of the brow line is not so good. Oh wait, no, center line. Keep it in order. It's funny, I like doing it from the brow first and then I'll go up into the rest of the cranium and try and get that curve. I have to do it like 5 times just to get it correct. There we go, got it. And the nose, I'm gonna put down here. I have to remember that that angle is there. There's the chin. Wow, why does this not fit at all?
Looks like the chin needs to be further up, perspective-wise.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like it should go up to there. And see, it's the jawline is supposed to attach to the center line in some way. Wow, this is just turning terrible, isn't it? Let me get this side line.
I'm going to have to bow out.
No,
good
that's
luck.
cool.
And we'll see you tomorrow, I think. Nice meeting your voice, Josh.
Nice meeting you, Doug. Right, Doug? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. Thanks for showing up. And I will see you tomorrow. And I'm almost done anyway, so.
All right. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. Okay, so. I'm going to say the height is wrong. Something about, like, that just is not working.
So one thing that the Asaro head doesn't address very well is that
You mean the loomis
the
head?
ball, or well, yeah, the loomis head. Sorry.
That's okay. I did that 5
Oh,
times
God.
already.
Yeah, Everyone's getting it all. Um, one thing that it doesn't address very well is that the ball of the cranium is more of an egg shape than a ball. So
Right.
especially in a three-quarter view like this, the center line for the cross section of the temporal area
Mm-hmm.
should be further back. And I think that would address a lot of it.
Oh. Oh, I see what you mean.
Just
Like it would
looking
go
at where
back
the ear
here.
would sit. Yeah, just looking at where the ear would sit. Um, that's typically how I place that particular center line is by just looking at where the ear sits.
Yeah. So with wrong, need egg. Need egg. That's just
Well,
funny enough for
that's
me to remember why.
yeah. Well, that's what Steve Houston. That's what his sail shape really addresses is that the head is really deep, and we don't usually think about it that way. Like we usually think about it as a ball, but
Yeah.
it's much deeper than we expect.
Yeah, I have his book, Figure Drawing for Artists, which is good. And it's
It's
interesting. He
it's
has,
interesting because it's full of philosophy and kind of all over the place, but if you can follow it, it's
yeah,
got like nuggets of gold in it.
it does. What's like his head section is kind of like later in the book where he gets detailed into the head, but throughout the entire book, he's doing the head. Like it's like a simple head and then a more complex head later on.
But like I said, that's his shorthand. I think he learned his shorthand by doing something very similar to what you're doing now.
Mhm.
Is experimenting and playing and figuring out, what shorthand works for this structure.
Yeah.
Um,
What's interesting, we're at 8 out of 50. Like I said, I'm not going to do all of them. I want to do 100, but maybe I'll do 50 Loomis and then look at doing 50 um, Houston.
hmm.
50 Loomis, 50 Houston. Houston, we have a problem.
and then and then just see what works for
Yeah.
you. Because it's all very individualized. Like I don't follow any one method. I do my method and it works for me, but I wouldn't say it has to work for anybody else.
Yeah. But the idea is defining that method, right? We look at methods that work for others and then go, oh, I like that, but this one doesn't really work with my brain, so let's adjust it a little bit, maybe in that
Right.
aspect.
So it's the cook and chef analogy that I keep bringing up over and over again. It's like you can watch what other artists do and figure out, oh, well, that's a really fucking, sorry, ruined your monetization. Sorry, dude. Well, that's a really cool ingredient. I'm gonna try that in one of my dishes and see how
Yeah.
it tastes. So it's the same thing looking for
Yeah,
art.
it's a difference between principles in art and formulas,
Right.
right? Or ingredients and
Recipe.
recipes.
Like you can follow a recipe. That's what these techniques are. Or you can look at the recipe and be like, I see how they used lemon here to pull out some of the flavor with the acidity. So I'm going to try to use lemon in my dish and see how it tastes.
Yeah.
And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's the same thing with these techniques. You can be like, okay, I really like how the sail addresses this issue with the depth of the head, but I don't like the sail shape. So maybe I could try using an egg to address the same issue in my own way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's important to learn those ingredients, those principles, because then you can apply them to any situation that you have, and you're not stuck in a particular formula. What's
Exactly.
interesting I was looking at, Josh, was, and I was trying this on a couple of drawings, and I realized the error of my ways. Like I was looking at, if you look at the image over here, that's a box.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of got a loomis shape to it, but it's a head inside of a box. And I was thinking, well, how could I fit a box on top of the head here It's the wrong placement. I could not get it to work. Like, it just would not work for a head. It would never fit because the head is not a perfect box shape.
Right.
It,
Right.
It's always going to have these, tremendous angles, kind of thing. But you can abstract the head into a box in some way and then get more understanding of, if a light's coming from this way like it is now, all this is in light and the front of the plane is all in shadow. The
Right.
whole top
So
would be in shadow, so you can abstract it that way.
I'll challenge you a little bit on this. Not a lot, because you're right. The head itself, I don't think can be turned into directly a box. But if you think about a box that you could fit a head inside of.
Yeah, you can do. That's what I'm saying. This drawing is a box that they fit a head inside of.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you think about it slightly differently, the box has to be bigger than the head. So you don't want the corner, or I'm sorry, the edge. So corners are the points, edges are where two planes meet. You don't want the edge of the box to be right against the brow line. It would have to be outside of the brow line for the head itself to fit inside of said box.
Right. But I was kind of approaching it like at the beginning when I was talking about it, was like, the most simple form. Like, if you know nothing about perspective and yet you want to learn how to draw the head from any angle, you need to know what is actually. I wrote it down. What I like to say about it. Give me a second. Yeah, in order to know the structure of any volume, you need to know how it moves through space, and that is perspective.
Yeah.
So if you want to know how to adjust a head, or draw a head from your imagination, you know the form, you know how it moves through space. That's the same as knowing the perspective. And if you know nothing about perspective, the box is the perfect place to start. And I began the live stream and I was saying, okay, if you don't know anything about perspective, I would suggest draw 100 boxes first. But do it in a way where you're looking at a reference and you're like, okay, I want to draw a box that represents the angle of that head. And you can go further with it. You could say, this is the brow line to over the ear or whatever, and do a placement like that, and nose, chin, hairline right here, and whatever you want to do in that kind of aspect, and kind of get a better representation. But this will help you with perspective, and the draw a box course is, the best for that. Because the one thing about boxes is, I remember, what was it, back in the day, when you were a kid, you would draw a perfect square, right? You'd sit there and you draw a perfect square. Then you would repeat that square exactly here, and then you would just connect all the lines. That's not a box. That's not a real box. That's not perspective on a box. So don't do that.
You're completely correct.
Yeah. Because if I first, you start with a box and you think about this kind of vertical line, and I'm repeating this a million times because I can't get my lines directly on. And then you think about this angle here. These three lines. Hey, good morning, Ashton. Close to the end of the stream, but I'm talking about boxes now. So that's the beginning of your box. But this point here is closest to you. And if I'm going to draw this next vertical line, so from here to here, it needs to taper down in some way. So this width here would be larger than this width here. It could be so tiny that you don't see it. Maybe the taper of that is just so small that you don't see it. But eventually, 1,000,000 miles off in space, these two lines will meet. They will meet. And so now we do the same on this side. So we have this line. This one needs to come down and that's a bit too extreme. And then you do, let's say we have this line here. See, it would need to go way off in space. This line would need to meet eventually as well. And you repeat that all over. And this is honestly the easy part of it, because they have you do this on the draw box thing. And so every line coming away from that point would converge in some way. A convergence would happen. And
Right.
the hard part is when they say, okay, draw the backside of the box. And you're like, oh my goodness. So these two lines are supposed to meet somewhere. And then this line with this one down here is supposed to meet somewhere. So maybe that point is there. I'm not sure. And then we got this one. And you're like, oh, okay, that's probably not too bad. But then the next thing that they have you do is they have you test all this. So you take your ruler and you draw out this line. Let's do it in orange. You do it really long on your ruler, right? And you'll see these things where they're really off. Actually, if I did Shift B, I could do a straight line. Like that's converging, but maybe a little bit too fast. You know, these two lines are not converging. That one maybe. But you start looking at all these different convergences, and then you end up with something where, you know, literally there's just lines everywhere. And then trying to understand what is the front and the back gets really difficult as well. And you're like, holy crap. But learning this and learning what needs to happen, maybe not getting it perfect all the time, is really important. Like that's the beginning of knowing form well and drawing the form in space, is this right here, drawing a box. And so
It's
that's
also very sobering.
sobering. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I've been drawing for years. I got this. And then you try it and you're like, oh, I don't got this.
Yeah. I tell this people a lot of times, like, you know, when I talk about the daily art, and then people think, well, let me draw a portrait for every day. No. You don't need to do that. Just look at your coffee cup or your tea cup that's right next to you and just start drawing it. And you'll realize that, oh my God, ovals are hard. Cylinders are hard. You know, you have a book or a stack of books sitting on the shelf somewhere, and then all of a sudden they're boxes, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is really difficult. And then you quickly realize that daily art can be super helpful for you, and it doesn't have to be you drawing a portrait or a complete landscape or painting a complete painting to be really helpful for you every single day. Like this daily drawing is really, really important. Even if you just say, I'm going to just do boxes from imagination, you know, at least 10 of them a day. That will get you closer to structure.
This is actually something that every superstar art YouTuber talks about really frequently, and it's probably the most ignored advice on the internet in terms of art education. And Craig Mullins, I think, said it the best when he said that, you know, it, as amazing as everything that I'm doing is, all it is a rigorous application of the fundamentals.
I said, yeah, I've repeated that so many times.
And it is, like I said, it is the most ignored advice on the internet. It's like, you want to get great at something, focus really, really, really hard on the building blocks, the foundation, the fundamentals. And
exactly.
That's really all it is. You can get fancy later and put some icing on the cake, but if your cake is crap, the icing's not going to help.
Yeah. A rigorous application of the fundamentals, only in a smaller scale. I was talking about that on an individual painting. So that's on like an individual level. So you have this whole painting, right, with landscape, house, whatever, figures, animals, clouds, everything in it. And he's zoomed all the way in, trying to draw the belt buckle and all these little belt loops that are over the belt on this person, right? And he's like, look at this. I'm doing this little belt loop. I'm doing the exact same thing that I've done for every single figure in here, every single house, every single plane. Light side, dark side, width, height, structure, everything that goes with it. It's like rigorous application of the fundamentals only in a smaller space. So important. Right. So the next steps, and this is what I'm kind of repeating from the beginning. You do your boxes, you get an idea of perspective, then you got the loomis head. So our famous loomis head here. So it's not as complex as the entirety of the portrait, right? So much complexity there. But we're on to the next level. So we're thinking sphere, we're thinking planes, front plane, side plane, angles, these kind of things. But then the next after that, and by the way, you do 100 boxes, 200 boxes, whatever. 100 loomis heads, 200 loomis heads. Probably 100 is good. Definitely. And then you go into, and I did not draw this. This is from someone else. Skills up, it says down here. But I really like it. This is kind of like Russian academic kind of idea. This is a simplified Asaro head. So you can see, if I bring this up again. Oops, nope. It's the same idea, just a bit more complexity. We're building in more complexity. So we have not the exact features, not the eyeball, iris, eyelids, everything within that, but we have, the basic nose shape. The actually probably one of the most important things, this line here, where we divide up the Asaro head, the plane, into this side plane, into these differences, right? So it gets a bit more complex. So that's kind of like the next step. And then this progresses. This is it's actually a really great drawing. So it goes, they take it to here. And this is using the Riley method.
Yeah.
So but you can tell that they have a deep understanding of structure because it's not a flat Riley method. They're, all these lines are, curving with the form. They know that there's a concave area in the skull here. They know that this is like the frontal plane bone of the skull. Look, they're even drawing the zygomatic arch here that points back to the hole in the ear. They know about the, what is that shape? What is that? The keystone. What is that called, Josh? The bone there.
Oh, I don't remember what it's called, but that's actually, like, keystone is what I know it as.
Yeah, like all these shapes, like this person, they didn't just draw this, like come up with it from, the beginning version. There's a lot of study of anatomy and form within all that.
Now, there's a study of anatomy and form and the Riley rhythms specifically. We discussed this yesterday, I do believe, like you and I, but at that point, I would, and this is me personally, and I may be robbing myself of this, but I have never found all of the Riley rhythms to be super practical.
Oh no, I agree. I've never really liked them. Yeah. But
so I would say that the simplified Asaro head there would be enough to understand lighting to apply it to a real portrait.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. So, and there's further jumps within this. Like they do, this is the next step. And then that, applying form, shadow to it and more detail. And then finally this, right? And
it's beautiful. I mean,
it's a very beautiful drawing. But the important thing, I think, to notice this is, see, that's number 4. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Is many people will see, the beauty of this. They'll look at just this and go, oh, I want to draw like that. And so, and that's fine. I mean, wanting to do that is perfectly fine. I think the problem is that people will begin to draw that. This
yeah,
right
you make,
here.
yeah.
They get in there and they're like, oh yeah, there's these little creases. Oh, and that crease there, the skin and this kind of, wow, all these little details, the little highlight in the eye, got to get that in first. That's what people draw first. And that's what I did for years, because I want to draw like this, but they'll look at Rachel Bradley and they'll get in here and they'll do all the details,
Yeah, yeah.
The beginning of this, to get to here, is not that. It's not that. It's not that. It's not even that. It's really more that.
Yeah, yeah.
The box. That's the beginning of it. And then you build up complexity. Actually, and that's why I think this method is going to work well, is because the complexity is, and I think these are all in the wrong order, the box to the loomis to the simple Asaro, and then to, the detailed portrait.
Right. Yeah, I mean that builds complexity and understanding at the same time. So an understanding of the structure, not just an understanding of how to draw what you're observing.
Right.
That's perfect. Or that makes perfect sense to me and to you. Other people, I mean, are these the ingredients you want to use? I hope so, because it's the foundations. Salt, fat, acid, heat. You've got food. Delicious food. Structure.
Making me hungry.
Yeah, me too. I think that's why I keep going back to the food analogies. I had a quick breakfast this morning trying to get the kids ready for school.
I'm going to go start making my breakfast and do my walk for the day because it's important for me. Although some car took out our mailbox yesterday, so I'm a little bit more afraid to do a walk. I may end up like Stephen King, but in a more bad way. We'll see.
Yeah.
If you didn't know, Stephen King got hit by a car like years and years ago when he was walking.
Yeah. Well, good luck on your walk. Keep an eye over your shoulder.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I walk towards the traffic, but on a sidewalk. So I'm always watching. I don't like not being able to see what these idiots on the road are doing.
Well, I hope you keep a spring in your step then.
Oh yeah. Duck behind a tree. Hit the tree, not me. All right, thanks guys
awesome,
for joining me. Thanks Josh for showing up, and yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm going to continue on with this throughout my day. You're not going to have to watch me do every single one of these.
And I'm sorry for swearing on your swearing on your live stream.
Hopefully the algorithm won't catch it.
I mean, you warned me, and I was like, all right, I won't, I promise, and then I did. I'm sorry.
Yep. Darn it, Josh. Because I was making so much money from this,
Well, hopefully it's just the one stream that they're like, hey, that rude person said a rude thing.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that, some curse words sometimes. It's all good. All right, dude.
Okay.
Have a good breakfast, and thanks everyone for joining. I will see you